Welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is a demonstration of the QuetzaCore SO Workbench tool for Unity. If you are a Unity developer, you are most likely working with scriptable objects, and if you are definitely working with a lot of scriptable objects. And so it can be sometimes a little bit tedious to go through different files and folders of your project trying to find the scriptable object that you need in order to edit. So I've made a tool that is focused on scriptable objects and oriented towards a per task basis. I'll give you a quick analogy of the tool itself. Picture a blank worktable, and you put the parts or pieces of whatever you're working on onto that table. You do the necessary work, and when you're done, you can clear the table and move on to the next task. So this is not really a database tool where it will hold all of your scriptable objects as some other tools. That's not the objective of this one. It's really aimed at a per task basis with clear organization to increase your efficiency and your overall workflow, really. So the current method that people are using to modify their scriptable objects is like this. They go through the different folders of Unity project and they click and they click and they click. So you click to go through the folder, you click on the scriptable object, and then you modify what you have to do in its inspector. Same thing for anything that you might be modifying as long as it's a scriptable object. The other way is going through the hierarchy, clicking on any object that may be in there and going through its components, finding the scriptable objects that are in there and double clicking it to bring to that scriptable object that's in the project folder. That may work for one or two modifications, but what if you have a task or an event or a mission or a quest or some other thing in your game that essentially is a collection of multiple scriptable objects that need to be modified for the thing to work properly, for balance, for testing, and for just overall gameplay and game building? You can use the SO Workbench to do that. So there's a few ways to add your assets to the work table. So what is a work table? First off, you have the SO Workbench, which is the window itself, and then you have the work table, which will hold your groups and your assets, your scriptable objects. So let's start by adding something. In this demonstration, I'm going to modify a quest for the demo, but you can use it for anything, a mission, crafting recipes, anything in your game, an event, anything that is in a collection of scriptable objects. So first, one way you can simply click, drag and drop the scriptable object into the work table. It'll get added automatically into a group. Another way is you can right click on your asset and pin to the QuetzaCore SO work table. My preferred way though is to use the built-in search feature. It'll search your entire project for the scriptable objects according to your search. So you type in at least 2 characters. Now since I'm going for a quest here, I will type in quest, and it's got my merchant quest, so I'm going to add that to the work table. Okay, great. So let's organize this a little bit. I've got a dialogue, action, and a quest. So let's create a group, and we'll call this one quest stuff. And another one for probably, let's go with items. I'll add some items in a moment. Alright, so now I want to organize a little bit. Organize it. You don't have to do this, but it's an optional feature. It's really useful if you want to stay organized in managing your multiple scriptable objects in the work table. So you can drag and drop the SO or the asset into the appropriate group. So drag the quest SO into quest. Dialogue, let's rename this one to dialogue and actions. Okay, great. All right, so let's add some more stuff to this. All right, let's add a objective here. All right, so I'll add that. Now since I have multiple groups, the search is asking me to pick where do I want to put it. Do I want to put it in dialogue, quest, or item group? All right, well this is a quest objective. I'll put it in quest. Let's add another one. Okay, we'll go with quest stuff here. And let's add some items. Here, dagger. We'll add the dagger. Okay. And we'll put that in items. And we'll add one more. Go with the mage ring item. Oh, okay. Great. Add that into items. Perfect. Okay. So now I've got my assets added to the work table. Now to edit them, it has a built-in inspector. So by clicking on the asset that I want, it allows me to see the inspector and make the necessary modifications to the SO. The built-in inspector has something to allow you to undo and redo. So if you made some mistakes, finally you don't like a certain thing, let's call this, let's just write some typos here. Okay, and finally I realized I made a mistake, so let's fix that. There we go. Any changes you make in the inspector are modifying directly your assets, and it does not change the folder structure of your project, so you don't need to worry about having things moved into different files. It's just creating a reference to them. Great, so now I've made the necessary modifications to my assets. Let's save the work table in case I need to come back here one day. Let's call that quest dagger and ring. Give it any name you want, a small description. Call it a test quest. Okay, and you save. So that saves the work table. The advantage of work tables, imagine you in your game you have hundreds of missions or quests or events or anything that is a collection of scriptable objects that need to be modified on a per task basis. You can save them all into their own custom work tables and then load them up like this. So let's first clear the work table, and that just clears it off your screen. It does not erase the work table, it just clears it off of your screen. You click load work table and you select the work table you want to load, and everything comes back the way it was. So if you have hundreds of quests, missions, events, or anything like that in your game, you can potentially save each one as a work table and load the work table, which will allow you a central place to modify the necessary assets for that specific event, mission, quest, whatever you might choose to name it, in one central location, instead of having to go through each folder of your project, clicking on that individual asset, modifying it, and going to another folder, clicking on that asset and modifying it. Really centralizes and makes your workflow much more efficient. So we've seen groups, we've seen the adding, we've seen clearing the work table, saving and loading. What about persistence? Well, let's try that. So I'll clear my work table. I will add some random assets to my work table here, and I'll just close it. Say, and pretend you're closing Unity, and then you open it again, and it comes back. It persists through Unity sessions, so if you close Unity, the last thing that was open in the work table will still be there when you turn it back on. It's compatible with Unity version Unity version 2021.3 and anything that's newer, all the way up to Unity 6. I'm testing this in Unity 6, but it works perfectly well in Unity 2021.3 and anything that's more recent. So if you like it, if you're interested, please check out on the asset store. The link is in the description, and happy development.